Hello everyone, my name is Andrew and welcome to the first video on this channel. This video is gonna be a guide for Germany in the Endsieg mod. I'm pretty sure you all know what this mod is all about, with Germany in the later stages of World War II, where their situation was not the best, and you're meant to take the wheel and try see if you can rescue the situation for the German army. Um, so we're gonna jump right in. Actually, before we go right in, I advise that besides this mod, you also have some other mods enabled to enhance or make your playthrough a lot easier, a lot more enjoyable. First and foremost, I recommend the spot optimization mod, as this game does take place rather late in the game, and a lot of the major countries already have a lot of divisions moving around. It can lag your rig a bit if you don't have as good of a PC, so it can lag a bit. So I definitely recommend that one. And another mod that I really highly recommend is the top bar resources mod, which basically it makes it so that your resources, so your trade screen, appears on your top bar, so you can constantly pay attention to your resources. Makes the game a lot easier from that point of view. Alright then, so let's jump right in. We are gonna be playing on the 21st of June 1944 scenario. This guide will still, like much of this guide, will still apply to the earlier scenarios, so 1943, 1942, and 1941. I won't be covering any of the World War II, the World War One stuff. I will also not be covering the 20th of March 1945 scenario, as it's, in my opinion, impossible. I will, however, be covering the 16th December 1944 in a future video. If you guys like this stuff, I will be moving on to doing the 1944, the winter 1944 scenario. But for now, we're gonna jump into the summer 1944 scenario. Gotterdammerung, select it. We're gonna be playing as Germany for today. You can play as any of the other Axis powers if you want. You could play, for example, as Japan. It would probably be an interesting game. But for now, I'll just be focusing on Germany. Could be making another video on Japan if you guys want, if that was what you guys would like to see. But for now, let's just go with Germany and let's jump right in. We're gonna do. I suggest leaving Iron Man off because you can make earlier on. Actually, you will make mistakes, and it's always nice to be able to go back and be able to fix those mistakes. Also, I suggest leaving the difficulty on regular, because this mod is actually one of the mods that does really, like, the difficulty really matters. Not because it makes the AI more difficult to fight against, but it's because it makes your production a lot slower. It makes you gain less fuel, and in such a scenario, you are going to need all the production that you could get. Obviously, all your units start low strength, and that's why making equipment is gonna be in the first part. Like after you get the equipment under control situation, game tends to go your way generally if you have a good defensive line set up. So we'll jump right in and we'll start the guide. So I forgot to mention in the intro, I'll have this guide set up into 5 different parts, and I will have, hopefully I'll flash the parts on the screen right now, along with timestamps. So if you're interested in any particular aspect, you can just skip right to that portion of video, and do not waste any of your precious time. Alright, here we are. We're in the screen, so to speak. So we're gonna, if you want to read this event, go ahead, read it. I'll just be skipping it. And here, this is 2 very important screens. So it's World War II, and I have this is just a bug report. Game tweak options. I recommend not touching this. So just go to next page. And I do recommend that you click on the war exhaustion options and select everyone, so that your war exhaustion gets reset, and so your war exhaustion gets reset, and then you have everyone else taking damage from this stuff as well. So I recommend doing that. Alright, so first things first, let's talk research. Now, you have 5 research slots, and these are going to be valuable mostly early game. Well, yeah, early game of the scenario. Late game, you can start doing whatever you want, but for the early game, you are going to want to get a couple of things. First and foremost, you're going to want to grab your land doctrine. You're going to want to finish that. I suggest sticking with Modern Blitzkrieg, just because it's finished, and if you do want to start over with the new doctrine, just know that it's gonna take a while to get all the way finished, and this can drain you of the modifiers that you already have. So just sticking with modern mobile warfare. It's a pretty good doctrine, and I do suggest you take the right side. Now the manpower can be nice, but 19 somehow manpower is actually not that big of a problem in this mod. Should I say in this scenario for Germany? So we're just gonna go ahead and take this. Next up, we want industry, and this is where the remainder 4 of our research slots are going to be used for the majority of the early game. So what you're gonna be wanting to get is dispersed industry 4. Improved rubber plant, fuel refining, and also I do suggest getting construction 12. Now, why do you want these? So first of all, dispersed industry 4. Oh. Alright, so dispersed industry 4. Why do you want this? You obviously want it for the factory bomb vulnerability, minus 10%, that's really good. And for the good portion of the early game, you are going to get bombed because your air force not quite up to scratch yet. So you definitely want that. More importantly, you want the plus 10% factory output, so you get plus 10% more IC out of your military factories. And definitely the well, you can go for the max factories instead. It's pretty good. The production efficiency retention is phenomenal. You definitely want this because you are going to be switching up your equipment, if not that often, but it's still gonna be important. And the efficiency base as well is pretty nice. Next, you want construction, basically just for the construction speed and factory repair speed. And you are going to be building quite a bit, except for just repairing. So you definitely do want to get this. Next up, fuel refining. Fuel is gonna be a major issue, so definitely worth getting that. And rubber as well. If you want to make planes, which I do recommend that you make planes, you definitely need this because you're not going to be able to trade with anyone overseas. The Allies going to be raiding you. If not, then they will at least capture your main trade partners, which is Siam. They'll probably kill them. So you do want to be making your own rubber. In the future, so these are just the first researches, I do recommend going for excavation 5, excavation 6, and also the advanced rubber plant. Right, after you got all these, I recommend going to the support companies tab and getting yourself a logistics company, because in Russia it's really easy to get into supply regions that are not as good. The infrastructure is all broken up by combat, and you don't really have the industry to like just fix it and then like remove it. So logistics is gonna be very important. So I do suggest getting that at least up to the level 4. You could even go a bit further if you have the time, but I do suggest going up to 1945. I also recommend the maintenance companies. This will give you a equipment capture ratio, which is particularly good for capturing enemy guns. So definitely want to get those because guns are going to be a major issue in the early game. Also, the reliability is also nice, and you lose a bit less when you try push, a bit less equipment. I also recommend going for the top rack of weapons, so support weapons. Definitely recommend go for those. They just give you, just for all infantry, just give you a bunch of defense, bunch of breakthrough. It's all good. And I also do recommend going for the Panzerfaust decks, Panzerschreck. This gives you a heart attack for your infantry and mechanized and motorized as well, and also gives you a lot of piercing. Piercing doesn't really matter that much, but it is the heart attack that you're gonna need for fighting enemy tank divisions. Your also later picks are probably gonna be Knight, the Knight technology. Knight is very good. You can fight better on your on the other half of the day. I would advise against going for the better guns. It's just gonna be, you're just gonna be switching your production. You're just gonna be losing efficiency, and these are not that worth it for the stats you gain. They're also more expensive to make, so they're one steel more expensive. So I just recommend sticking with the gun 2s that you have already. Don't go for gun 3s. Now, once you finish your land doctrine, here it is. Once you get this last one, I do heavily recommend you go over to the air doctrine and you grab yourself this one right here. Ground support plus 20%. This is very important. It's going to help you a lot with your cast. It's going to be very good. Right. Now that we got the research done, it's time to talk construction. As you can see, you don't have that many civs, and this is a number that's inflated because about like 20 of those are going to be traded away. So first and foremost, very important, you're going to want to build up some rubber. You are going to want to build up some rubber. We're at about 20 factories. Try and build them in the areas with most infrastructure, so the level 100s that are here. And you go to the 80s. Here as well. Oh, wrong screen there. So try build like 15 to 20 of these because they're going to be very, very important. You can also build in both Berlins, and that's going to be 4, 10. So we'll build a bit more, and we'll do one more set. Where's the 80% infrastructure? Guess we'll just do a 70%. So this is your initial construction queue. These are fairly quick to build. They don't take that much time, especially if you get the later construction techs. Then after you get these built, I'm definitely going to be recommending use some synthetic refineries. So you also going to be wanting to build about 20 of those as well. You go into the highest infra areas, and these actually allow you to build more than 2 per stage. So you can go here, here, here. You can grab this with 100 here, shift it to above there. Then you can also build in here. These are limited to 5 per stage, so a lot more than that. Build here, and that's actually about it. That's actually too much, so we're gonna be canceling a bit of those. So we just have, yep, that looks, we'll even cancel this one. So that looks like a pretty good number to me. After you get these built as well, I would recommend building some fuel silos if you want. It's optional, but it will make your life a bit easier, especially when in the later stages of the game, you'll see that without a reliable fuel supply, you'll find it very difficult to get both your planes and your tanks moving at the same time. So I do recommend building some fuel silos, or you can just go with the tried and tested military factories. Do not build any civilians. I highly would advise against it. At this late in the war, definitely want to be building mills. Alright, next up, let's talk political power. So you start off the game with 2,000 political power, and this is really, really good. You can, because all the political power buys are going to be a bit more expensive than they are in vanilla, but it's fine. So first and foremost, you need to switch off of scraping the barrel. You need to go down to extensive conscription. You don't need this amount of manpower. You don't need it that much, and the debuffs to it are just not good. So minus 40% construction speed, minus 40% factory output. Don't do it. Go to extensive conscription. You won't need the extra manpower. Trust me. I've never, through all my playthroughs of Endsieg, I've never had to go above extensive conscription as Germany. So I'm gonna be doing that. You are gonna want to keep the specialist training for now. You're gonna definitely want to go, not go free trade, but do go export focus. If you go free trade, you're gonna be taking trading a lot of your steel away. You're actually gonna need to trade for steel. So it's just going for export focus for that extra 5% research speed. So you can definitely do that. And then I would also highly encourage getting a... So these were just mandatory. Right now everything's optional, and you can get them in slightly different orders, but I still recommend you do it like this. So a captain of industry for the refinery construction speed. You can later get actually I do recommend a war industrialist, but you can get this later. Once you start building military factories, recommend grabbing this one. Until then, you could go for a, let me find it. You could go for a silent workhorse. It could be potentially very good, especially with war exhaustion, which I will be discussing later. But for now, you don't really need it that much, so this is all for the political tab for now. Oh, you could get a Prince of Terror if you're really struggling with manpower. It does give you quite a bit more manpower from non-core, and you have a lot of non-core. But for now, just this, and we're gonna definitely be grabbing the industrial concern, 10% industrial research speed. Gonna be grabbing the army offense, dude, 10% division attack. And that's it for now. That's it for now for this. But we're not done yet with PP. With political power, we're not done yet. It's just gonna go into decisions, and very, very important. Once we can unpause, we'll get a decision to do war propaganda against the USSR. So definitely do war propaganda against USSR. Other stuff includes you're gonna be wanting to take both these decisions for the extra oil. And that's really it for now. So take the oil decisions, take the war propaganda, which is going to be about a 75 political power, and then save any. You could go for a. Actually, why not? We'll grab the war industrials now as well, just to be safe. And that's it for political power. Next up, I'll also cover national focuses. For the most part of the game, you are going to be you're going to be wanting to stick on either air production or construction repair. So construction repair, obviously, because you're gonna be getting bombed. You're gonna be wanting to repair, if not the civs, at least the mills that are getting bombed, and definitely the refineries. And it does, if you don't repair them with your actual civs, you're still gonna be repairing them automatically, and that's gonna be a lot faster. Or you could go for air production, which is gonna significantly increase your air production, decreases fire cost IC, actually decreases all plane cost IC by 10%. It's gonna have 10% more fighters, so it's gonna be really good as well. But for now, I do recommend grabbing an actual focus. Recommend grabbing, where is it? Where are you? This one. Reintegrate Luxembourg and Alsace-Lorraine. This gives you free cores, it gives you a bunch of manpower, removes a bunch of resistance, so might as well grab it. Alright, next up, let's talk army. Do this quick. So, right off the bat, you'll notice you have a bajillion division templates. We need to fix that. The bajillion division template is gonna do nothing except confuse you. It's gonna make it a lot harder to sort out your army, to organize them, and most of these you can basically just arrange your army into just 3 division templates, and you're gonna have it much more organized, much more clean. So first and foremost, we're gonna select all the divisions, assign them all to one army, select all the, double click on the Panzer Division 2, just double click that, put them into a different army, and then everything else that you have, everything, all the 297 divisions, you're gonna want to convert to the infantry division. So the first templates, you just convert them. Okay, they're converted. Then you delete everything. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Get rid of the light tanks, get rid of this thing. So you delete everything except these 3 divisions. But you're not done yet with managing your army. First and foremost, you're gonna notice this is your main infantry division. This is, you have 297 of these, you have 300 of these. So you're gonna be wanting to make some changes to it to save as much equipment as possible. First of all, you're gonna wanna get rid of the support rack. So no support companies. This will save you a ton of support equipment that you need for other uses. And also notice the combat width, 24. Default combat width is 80. So you need 4 divisions to fit 80 combat width. So 4 divisions of 20 width. This, right now, you can't get 4 of this division into a single battle. You can only get 3. So we're going to be wanting to fix that. Make it a 20 width. And this also is going to free up a tremendous amount of guns. Just look at this. So you lack 280 right now. If I save this and I turn AI off, I do actually suggest turning AI off if you want to, for example, make changes that you need to you need the game to be unpaused for, so the AI doesn't go all ape shit on you and attacks you. I'm not gonna unpause it just because it's gonna trigger some events, but you'll save about 100,000 guns just by going in here, removing those two, removing the support equipment. Right. You're also gonna be wanting to stick this to the reserves. These gonna be getting the worst equipment. You don't need them that much. Actually, just stick them on default. Next up, the Panzer division. This is a terrible tank division. It is 18 width. It would ideally be 20 width because that's what fills the combat with. But 4 tank divisions in general, you're gonna be wanting to get 40 widths in going. But the problem is, for the first couple of months to actually for the first year or so, you're not gonna be having the equipment to fill 24 40 width tank divisions. So what I recommend doing to this dude is just add another motorized infantry. Actually add and replace one of the tanks with another motorized infantry. So this reduces the amount of tanks you need, increases the amount of motorized you need, but you actually start off with a decent motorized stockpile. Remember all those divisions that we deleted are motorized, and I will unpause to show you the logistics just a bit later. Now let's get back to designing the template. You're also going to be wanting to remove the support artillery, and you're going to be wanting to replace the cavalry recon detachment. You're going to be wanting to replace that with a motorized recon detachment. You're also going to be wanting to add a maintenance company, and that's going to be it. Maybe redesignate it as a Panzer division, and that is it for now for your tanks. So this is the early war tanks. This is what you're going to be using to push out D-Day and hold out against the Russians. Save that. So Tiger Brigade, this next on. All you're going to do to this one, you're going to do nothing else to it. You're going to set it to reserves, update it, and not touch it again. And there is a very specific reason why. Because this is the division that gets used for your garrisons. And as long as you don't change it, you are not going to have any problems with resistance. It's going to take up 0 equipment, and this is a huge buff. So not having to deal with resistance in Endsieg as Germany, huge deal. Like, big deal. Alright. Now that we got the army sorted out, let's head on to the production screen. This production screen is a mess, so we're gonna clean it up first. 2 lines of guns. I recommend just because all this is just OCD. You could leave it like this, and that's, or you could do select 10 factories, add 30 factories on guns, delete the other line. You're gonna be wanting 15 factories on rations, 10 factories on support equipment. You're gonna be wanting to delete the artillery line, 10 factories on motorized, delete the the combat bomber line. Gonna be wanting to delete the cast line, and you are going to be wanting to stick on the medium tank. Gonna be wanting to have 50 factories on the medium tank. You're gonna be wanting to also upgrade the fighter. So don't produce the old one, produce the advanced fighter. Don't bother with the jet fighter. It is more expensive. It costs chromium, which is gonna be needed for your tanks. So don't use this. And it's not even all that better. It's just only slightly better. So just be safe. Go for the advanced fighter and put for about 40 on this. Right. So you cleaned up. Actually, I'm gonna recommend going down to 40 on tanks. And very, very important, you're gonna be wanting to start producing the improved anti-air. So this is just AA. You're gonna be wanting to have support A in all your main infantry divisions, because green air in Endsieg, even against AI with a production that is this messed up, is far from guarantee. So throw that in there, put the rest of the factories on it, and you are going to be good to go. That's just leaving 10 factories on it. And once you start getting, well, you only have 30 on guns in the beginning, just for the gun shortage. So once you get the gun shortage set up, you can definitely pump this down to 10 or maybe even 15, and you definitely increase the tank and the plane production. I suggest going for the plane production increase first, and then you go for extra tanks. Just because planes are gonna be a lot more useful than tanks, and you're gonna find yourself with only 24 tank divisions. You're gonna find yourself producing a lot of extra tanks that you're not gonna be using, and you're not gonna be training divisions because this mod has it so that you can't train divisions. It takes a huge time to train division. For example, I train one of these. It's gonna be done in February of 1945, so it's not worth it to try train. So just use what you have. Also, while we're on production, we're going to touch on naval production as well. Yes. So we're definitely going to go for... We're just going to be building submarines. And we're only going to be building the Type 7CA. The submarine 3. You can even go in and modify it to make it cheap. But it's already cheap. So just build this one. And there is a very specific reason that I will get into the tactics section of this video. Build that, and you're also going to be wanting to throw any factories on convoys, and that's good for now. You're also going to be wanting to be trade mainly for tungsten, and you can very easily trade for tungsten from Spain across land, so you don't need to trade overseas. Also, another thing that I recommend doing is going into the sea zones, and block off the 3 sea zones neighboring the UK. So your convoys your ship is not gonna go through here, because this is where it can get sunk the most easily. This is where it's easiest to intercept, it's easiest to get sunk. So go around it if you are going to be trading. I also do suggest turning off most of the Atlantic, so turn off these zones as well. Actually, don't turn off these two, and you're only gonna be trading around here. So you have you're not going through the whole Atlantic. You don't need to cover more space. You just go through one single route. That's all good. So definitely want to block the coast of the US. There you go. Your trade taken care of. Let me turn that off for a second. Right now, we've talked armies, we've talked production. It's time to talk strategies, general strategies. So what are you going to be doing? Where are you going to be defending? Where are you going to be wanting to attack? Where are you going to be wanting to hold out against? And how do you want to set up this decently big army that you are given? And do remember that most of these are half strength at best. They will get equipped over time though. Right. So in the east, and the eastern front's actually gonna be the biggest problem. You are going to want to take all the infantry that you've set up in the east So take it all. Shift click is good tool. Just take everything on the eastern front. There we go. Assign it to one army. And I would also suggest putting this in a different theater, just so you keep everything nice and tidy. You're gonna double click on one of the division templates, one of the infantry. And this is all the infantry that you have available on the Eastern Front. So I recommend holding this line. So I'll be drawing a fallback line now. So this is where I recommend that you try and hold out. Do be careful that Endsieg does modify some of the tiles, so do be careful about that. I'm gonna swing right here into the forests and into the Carpathian Mountains. So swing down in there. Go to Brashov. Take a cut into this urban tile and across the river. So this is where I recommend you hold out with your main army and really just let the Russians expand manpower on you, because Russians have a very big infantry division advantage, like pound for pound. So you're gonna be wanting to expand their manpower on very well prepared defensive lines. So now that you're done with the Eastern Front, and I do suggest using your tanks to hold out against some of the weaker points on this line. For example, like this tile right here. This is a plain tile. You could have a tank in here just to make sure you don't lose it. You could also have tanks in these tiles here. I do advise retreating from Vitebsk, even though it is an urban tile across the river. It's just gonna take more troops to cover, so just hold these two lines, these two tiles, and you're gonna take it back further. So I'm definitely gonna recommend stationing some tanks on these tiles, and definitely on this tile as well. So mainly you want to be stationing tanks where you see that you have plain tiles, or tiles that are not difficult terrain, not across the river, where it's gonna be more difficult to defend. Next up, let's talk D-Day. So for your D-Day, you're gonna want to take all your D-Day divisions that you have in here. Just select them all. Give me a second. Let's just select them all. You can grab these as well. I do recommend pulling out of Norway, but for now, let's say you want to keep Norway, so we'll play like you want to do that. Select everything and put it all into one army. You have 67 divisions for D-Day. You're gonna want to split the tanks off. Double click. There we go. 11. And these 56 divisions, you're gonna be wanting to set them up like this. So what's gonna happen is the allies are gonna push right here. They're gonna stretch themselves thin, and you can see all of this terrain. Majority of this terrain is plain. It's plain tiles, very good for attacking. So you let them overextend. You sit across the river and in some difficult terrain, and then when they are overextended, you can definitely grab your tanks and push in and try to kill it. Definitely killing D-Day is definitely going to be your first objective, your objective number one. Because with D-Day killed, you have the Western Front pretty much secure. And then you get to focus all your attention in the East. And this is actually the most difficult thing about Endsieg, is you having to micromanage two separate fronts at the same time. Actually 3 if you include Italy. Talking about Italy, I definitely recommend selecting all of these, putting them into one separate army, selecting the one tank that we have, selecting it out, and doing it like this. So you hold out these 4 tiles. They're really hard terrain. They're mountains across rivers, there's hills. It's perfect for defense. So this is what you want to do in Italy, and also Finland. As I said before, Finland and Norway I generally recommend pulling out of. But if you don't want to do that, you can just take your divisions that you have in Finland. This one as well. Set them up into a different army and garrison. Have it on this tile. It's a mountain tile. It's only one tile. It can only be attacked from one side, so it's really easy to defend, really hard to attack. So that secures Norway from the north, if you will. But the Norway garrison that you have is rather weak, and it is a lot of land to cover. So I do recommend pulling out of Norway, and yeah, I recommend you do that and not garrison it, because all Norway really has to offer is a bunch of tungsten that you're going to be buying anyways, and a bunch of aluminum that you have way too much of anyways. So Norway really not that worth it to hold, but if you do want to hold it, then sure. But it is just more manpower that you're gonna have to take care of. Right. As for Greece is really the same as Norway. I would definitely recommend pulling out and then releasing them as a not as a puppet, as just a nation. So I would definitely recommend doing that. And you can take your Norway division, your Greece divisions, to the Yugoslavia part of the front. And I do say why you want to why you want to have actually just a lot of divisions stationed in and around this part. It's because you're gonna get these events called Yugoslav Partisans Rise Up, and what they will do is basically they spawn a division. Spawn some divisions randomly in here, and you're gonna have to kill those off, and you're gonna be getting a lot of those pretty much until latest I've gotten one was in September of 1944. But yeah, you're definitely gonna want to kill these so it just doesn't become another place that you don't want to fight in. So definitely do take care of that. So definitely pull the stack back here. Right, that is basically it for where you want to defend, how you want to set up your defenses. And as I said before, your first priority is going to be pushing D-Day out by letting them overextend and then counterattacking back in. You're going to want to kill a lot of allied troops, and you can actually use your air force as well for this task. If you delete all your air force and reorganize it, which I do suggest you do, because it's all a mess right now. So you delete it, then you set it up again in an airport. Like you actually do have a somewhat decent amount of fighters. 2,000 fighters is actually not that bad. So I do like this. You have a lot of tactical bombers, and you can really use these to your advantage. You can use them for CAS. You can use them if you want to bomb. I kind of advise against trying to bomb, but you can use them as CAS, and they're very good for CAS. And you definitely want to be using these. You're gonna want to be using them to help you in northern France. For some reason, the air zone in France is still just one air zone. It's not split up like it's in vanilla, so where you have Western France and Northern France or Eastern France, something like that. So this all is one big air zone. So just definitely all the combat that's gonna be happening is gonna be happening inside this air zone. So that's gonna be advantageous to you. Alright, that was pretty much the tactics and army organization covered. Next up, we'll move on the tips and tricks section to make this run just a little bit easier. Alright, on to the tips and tricks section. So, tip number 1 is going to be taking up all your navy, organizing them under one fleet, so you have all your task forces under one fleet, selecting them all and putting them all in a common port, say here. And what you're gonna want to do once they're there, you're gonna hit the merge selected task forces, and then you're gonna take this, the one that's almost. You're gonna be patrolling. No, you're actually gonna be setting strike force. Engage at low priority and low repair. You're gonna be wanting to patrol. You're gonna be wanting to select Bay of Biscay, English Channel, Eastern North Sea, and if you choose to garrison Norway, Norwegian coast as well. So this way, it makes sure that the Allies cannot naval invade you. But you may say, hold up, the Allies have a lot more than 63 ships. They're gonna naval invade you anyways. Ah, well, you see, that's why these subs are being built. You're building these subs not to convoy raid the UK or anyone for that matter. They're pretty crappy. But you're building them for their numbers. You're building them because subs add to naval supremacy. So one sub is 1 point of naval supremacy, and if you have 300 subs, well 300 of these, which you can easily have because you have 3 lines and they're very, very cheap to make. They're very quick to build. Can spam out a lot of these. You're gonna have a lot of ships, a lot of total ships on strike force in these regions, and the Allies are not gonna be able to get the 75% naval supremacy in order to launch a naval invasion. So that's tip number 1. On to tip number 2. Tip number 2 is going to be tip number 2 is going to be setting up in Romania, setting up one division in setting up some divisions in their victory points. So one division in Cluj, division in Arad, one in Craiova, one in this tile right here, and no, actually one here, and one here. So you're gonna want to take your 3 tanks that you start off here with, drop them in Brasov, in this tile right there, and also next to Craiova, because what's going to happen is once the Soviets reach Iași and take more of the Bessarabia, Romania will actually switch sides and they will declare war on you. You don't want that. You don't want that just because they're gonna be your biggest fuel source for the for the time being. So what you actually want to do them is once they switch sides, your divisions are gonna be sitting on their victory points, ready to capitulate them as soon as they join the war against us. So that's gonna be trick number 2. Trick number 3 is going to be taking up your air wings and we'll set up like 100 fighters and set them up in a air region without actually giving them a mission. And what this does is it makes you have air superiority in zones that you otherwise wouldn't, without actually consuming fuel. Do know, however, that unless there are no enemy fighters in the specific air zone, this will not work, but it will work for air zones that are unprotected, and this gives you green air. So if you happen to be fighting in said zone, you get the air support modifier to your attack for basically free. You don't even have to put these on missions. You just have to have them stationed in an area. You don't have to select the mission. You can just have it off. And it's going to be tip number 3. On to tip number 4 is, and this is a bit of a tip. It doesn't really apply to any of the late game stuff. It just applies to the just to the very beginning phase, right? So the way the AI works is you've set up this defensive line of yours, but the way the AI works, once you unpause, once you hit this button right here, the AI will battle plan all of its infantry into your division, spinning them all so they can't retreat. They can't retreat to this line that you've set up for them. So I definitely recommend this. Turning the AI off, and you can do this with just typing AI. It's on right now, so you can turn it off. In console, you get your divisions to where they need to be. Um, they get to where they need to be, and then you can turn off the AI, turn on the AI. My bad. Turn on the AI. You can unpause the game, and you're gonna be receiving the battle plan and the ensuing battle plan, and they are going to be battle planning you. Just look at all this infantry, for crying out loud. You're gonna be receiving the battle plan on prepared defenses. And I think that is actually it for today. If you like this video, if you found it informative, please do make sure to tell me in the comments down below. And if you want a... So this was more of a guide. I didn't actually play through any of this stuff. Well, not now anyways. I did play through it before quite a lot of times actually. But if you do want to see a series where I play through using my guide and I do just a regular playthrough, please do tell me in the comments. But that's going to be it. This video is long enough as it is, and it doesn't need to be any longer. Thank you folks very much for watching. I am Andrew, and I will see you again, or not, very soon. Cheers and have a good day.